Breaking news: Manila defies Beijing in a move that has sent shockwaves across the region. The Philippine Navy now leads major war games near a fiercely contested shoal, ramping up their presence in waters long claimed by both nations. Today, February 13, 2026, the Philippines made its boldest move yet, dispatching warships to the very doorstep of Bajo de Masinloc, a vital fishing ground where generations of Filipinos have cast their nets for centuries, despite growing threats. This was no routine patrol. It was a powerful statement, a high-stakes military exercise designed to send an unmistakable message to the world, and especially to China, that the Philippines will stand its ground. On the bridges of Philippine naval vessels, officers stood with grim determination, their binoculars fixed on the horizon, fully aware that every move could have historic consequences. The sea, usually tranquil and a source of livelihood, had now become a stage for high-stakes geopolitical drama, its calm surface hiding the tension beneath. Every maneuver was watched and analyzed by China's formidable navy, their ships shadowing the exercises, and their eyes never leaving the Philippine fleet. Years of diplomatic protests, tense standoffs, and harassment of Filipino fishermen by foreign vessels have led to this moment, a physical assertion of sovereign rights already affirmed by international law, but constantly challenged at sea. For the sailors and Marines, the mission was clear: defend their nation's territory, protect their fellow countrymen, and show the world that the Philippines would not be pushed around or intimidated. News helicopters buzzed overhead, capturing every moment of this historic gathering of naval power, broadcasting images that would soon circle the globe. In Washington, Tokyo, and Canberra, defense officials and world leaders monitored the situation closely, aware that the balance of power in the region could shift in an instant. The stakes were high, not just for the Philippines, but for the entire Indo-Pacific. Regional navies were placed on alert, and international warships patrolled nearby waters, ready to respond if tensions escalated. A single miscalculation, a misunderstood signal, or a moment of panic could ignite a conflict with devastating consequences for millions. The first act of this tense maritime theater had begun, and as the sun set over the disputed waters, no one knew how or when this standoff would end. The waters near Bajo de Masinloc had become a crowded, confrontational arena, where the tension was almost palpable in the salty air. Warships from multiple nations now patrolled these contested waters, their presence a constant reminder of the high stakes at play. From the deck of the BRP Jose Rizal, the Philippine Navy's flagship, the horizon was a jagged silhouette of antennas and gun turrets, each vessel bristling with technology and firepower, ready for whatever might come next. The sheer number of vessels, American, Japanese, Australian, and Filipino, was a testament to the gravity of the moment. Never before had so many Allied ships converged here, their flags fluttering in the wind, signaling unity and resolve. This was a deliberate coalition, a united front standing with the Philippines, sending a clear message that aggression would not go unanswered. The message was unmistakable. This was not just Manila's fight, but a defense of freedom, of navigation, and international law. The world's eyes were on these waters, watching to see if the rules-based order would hold. The presence of Allied warships turned a bilateral dispute into a multilateral statement, raising the stakes for China and making any miscalculation potentially explosive. The sea felt smaller, denser, and infinitely more dangerous as ships maneuvered in close quarters, every move watched and analyzed by friend and foe alike. Rules of engagement were scrutinized and rehearsed. Every captain knew they operated in a hair-trigger environment, where a single mistake could ignite a wider conflict. A sudden turn or misinterpreted signal could have catastrophic consequences, with the potential to draw nations into confrontation within moments. The waters were a chessboard, but the pieces were billion-dollar warships, each move calculated, each position critical, as commanders weighed risk and restraint. Sailors on deck watched each other, knowing that inside every ship were others, equally tense, caught in this high-stakes dance of deterrence and diplomacy. The world watched, holding its breath, as newsrooms buzzed with updates and analysts debated what might happen next. The balance of peace and war hung on a knife's edge, every second stretching out as the world waited to see which way the scales would tip. The military drills were a masterclass in naval choreography, showcasing seamless coordination between the Philippine fleet and its international partners. The BRP Jose Rizal led the formation, sharing real-time tactical data with the American destroyer. A Philippine helicopter practiced landing on the Australian frigate, demonstrating logistical integration and trust. Allied ships tracked and surrounded a simulated hostile target, communication flowing across platforms and languages. Philippine vessels, though smaller, led the formation, showcasing growing capability and confidence. The sight was powerful, ships sailing in tight patterns, practicing replenishment at sea, and sustaining long-range patrols. Every maneuver was a building block of collective defense and deterrence. Filipino sailors gained invaluable experience operating alongside advanced navies. The drills fostered camaraderie and a sense of shared purpose. Today, the Philippines stood not alone, but as a capable security partner with powerful friends. As Allied warships drilled, Chinese Coast Guard cutters loomed just outside the exercise area. Their white hulls, larger than many navies' frigates, shadowed every move, intimidating, asserting control. China framed the confrontation as law enforcement. But their aggressive maneuvers told another story. They cut across bows, broadcast warnings, and filmed every maneuver. Psychological warfare without firing a shot. Beijing's message, its claim over the shoal, was non-negotiable, and it would not be deterred by foreign powers. The danger of miscalculation was immense. A single error could spark escalation. Allied commanders focused on completing exercises safely, avoiding provocation. The Dragon's shadow was long and dark, a constant reminder that control of these waters was actively contested. The standoff was a test of wills, with the world watching. The exercises near Bajo de Masinloc were more than military maneuvers. They were political communication. For the Philippines, the goal was to assert sovereign rights and reclaim agency after years of Chinese encroachment. Regular drills aimed to normalize the Philippine military's presence, countering China's incremental salami-slicing tactics. For China, the drills were a direct challenge to its regional ambitions and narrative. The presence of Allied warships publicly rejected Beijing's sweeping claims. The drills forced China to choose, escalate, or risk appearing weak. Ultimately, these exercises were about defending a rules-based order and the principle that the seas are governed by law, not might. The message creates sign would be met with collective resolve. Beyond the headlines, strategy, and politics, the ongoing conflict over Bajo de Masinloc reveals a deeply human face, one often overlooked in international debates. For fishermen like Mang Roberto, the shoal was once a sanctuary, a place where generations found both livelihood and meaning. Now it's a place of fear and uncertainty, where every trip to sea is a risk. Since China seized control in 2012, Filipino fishermen have been chased, blocked, and even blasted with water cannons. Their boats are often damaged, and their safety is constantly threatened. Their incomes have plummeted. Many are mired in debt, struggling to provide for their families. A centuries-old way of life is vanishing before their eyes, replaced by anxiety and hardship. The sea, once a source of abundance and hope, has become a barrier, physically and emotionally, separating families from their traditions and dreams. These personal stories transform the conflict from a distant clash of nations into a fight for justice, dignity, and basic human rights. Each fisherman's struggle is a testament to resilience. Military drills in the area bring a glimmer of hope for a return to free fishing, but also stir deep fears of further escalation and violence. Fishermen are the most vulnerable, caught on the front lines of a geopolitical struggle they did not choose, yet cannot escape. Their wish is simple and heartfelt: to fish in peace, as their ancestors did for centuries, and to pass on their heritage to future generations. The human cost is the heart of the issue, a cost measured not just in lost income, but in broken dreams, fractured communities, and fading traditions. The dispute over Bajo de Masinloc is a battle of two irreconcilable narratives: international law versus historical claims. For the Philippines, the legal argument is clear. UNCLOS grants exclusive rights within its EEZ, and the 2016 Hague ruling invalidated China's 9-dash line. The drills are an effort to enforce this legal victory. China rejects the ruling, citing centuries-old maps and a narrative of historic rights. For Beijing, ceding territory would betray national identity and history. The clash makes resolution nearly impossible. One side holds up international law, the other, ancient maps. The world sees a stark difference: modern legal order versus historical ambition. The conflict is a classic case of law clashing with the weight of a nation's past. No common ground exists between these positions. The standoff continues, shaped by law, history, and national pride. The world watches, hoping for reason to prevail. The West Philippine Sea is one of the world's most vital waterways. A third of global shipping, over $3 trillion in trade, passes through these waters each year. For the Philippines, the stakes are existential. The sea is a source of wealth, energy, and food security. Vast reserves of oil and gas lie beneath the seabed, but Chinese patrols block exploration. The region's fisheries feed millions, but overfishing and island building threaten marine life. The battle for the sea is also a battle for its fragile environment. For the US and its allies, freedom of navigation is essential for global security. If China gains control, it could restrict access and shift the balance of power in Asia. That's why the world is invested in the outcome. The fate of these waters will help define the rules of the 21st century. As warships sail and rhetoric sharpens, the specter of conflict looms over the West Philippine Sea. The risk of escalation is real. A single misstep could spiral into war. The proximity of armed vessels creates a powder keg where restraint is crucial. China, feeling challenged, might respond more aggressively, risking a chain reaction. The nightmare scenario. A gray zone incident triggers open conflict and drags in allies. Yet the danger may force all sides to pull back from the brink. Communication channels and diplomacy are more critical than ever. ASEAN and regional bodies must push for a binding code of conduct to manage disputes. The future rests on deterrence and dialogue, resolute defense, but an open door to peace. The goal is not war, but a just and peaceful resolution. For fishermen, sailors, and the world, the hope is that diplomacy prevails over the drums of war.